Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the Tool Belt. I think this is episode 7 of RoofCon 2024. I started counting episodes just that way I can kind of keep track of.
7 sounds like a strong prime number. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for day 2.
Day 2, I'll take it.
Yeah, Orange County Convention Center, Florida, Orlando. We have another special guest, Mike Claudio, who's, we've kind of gotten a little closer here over I'd say the past few months here. We got to experience Grand Cayman together.
We did.
Bonded there, talked a little bit. You were going through a journey there, like a fasting type of thing, which was freaking amazing because all of the amazing food that was.
I picked a very interesting time to attack a 7-day water fast. Yes.
Yeah. So we kind of went through that together. Well, you did. I was doing the Fearless 44.
We suffered together.
Yeah. Right.
You went scuba diving.
Yes. I went.
You were scared.
I was terrified. But I had a good diving partner, Tim Brown, who hasn't dove before either, and so we kind of leaned on each other to muscle through that, and that was a great experience. But I think that small intimate group of men that were there, all of us, like I'm still in touch with Joe Huffman, obviously Eric, Tim Brown, and I have really gotten close since then. So it was good for me to step outside my comfort zone once again. And we were talking earlier about like, I'm starting to get comfortable now actually doing podcasts. So it's kind of like I was telling Vic, like, I'm not nervous anymore. I knew we were going to get everything set up. We actually set this thing up in 4.5 hours, 90% of it, which
that might sound crazy to some, but that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
For like what goes into setting this thing
right.
up.
So now it's like, okay, now we've reached our comfort level here. So now what? Like, are we going to get a scissor lift in here next year and raise this thing up with a big ass, 20 by 20?
Knowing you'll have like half the showroom over here just covered with
right. So
stuff.
Unfortunately, we're starting to get super comfortable with this. So, or fortunately, finally, I'm comfortable. At that moment, I start to feel comfortable. I have to, keep pushing. So, but cool. So what have you been up to? I know you got a lot of things going on. You got some coaches now doing coaching.
Yep.
What's that like? Like when you go from coach, now you're hiring coaches. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
The journey was more on the client side than it was on the coaching side, because the way that I brought coaches in, I promoted client to coach. Mm-hmm. So I coached you for 2 years. I knew you knew me. I knew you understood the standards. I knew you did things the way that I like coach things to be done. So I trusted you to have the knowledge, but there's 2 major obstacles that I didn't perceive or understand. So the first was clients early on were like, I want Mike. If I can't have Mike, I don't want coaching. I'm like, guys, it's not that I don't want it. I have 45 clients I'm coaching one-on-one. I literally am working 65 hours a week. I can't take more on it. Like, you're like, oh, my money's not good enough for you. Like, no, your money's great. I physically don't have the time left. So that was the first hurdle, was like getting people calling in or doing leads. And that was probably 2 years ago when we first started the progression. And then the second hurdle that I wildly underestimated is a lot of people are very good at giving advice until they're being paid for that advice. And then the expectations on themselves change. And then this huge imposter syndrome kicks in. And like helping coaches, because coaches weren't coaches. I didn't hire coaches. Mm-hmm. I hired business owners who were really good at business. So they didn't have a coaching background, if that makes sense. So helping them overcome the imposter syndrome that you can actually help people. Because when you go from like, I'll give someone advice, but if it's not good enough, it's fine, to someone's paying for this advice, that wildly changed. Wow. It was a major hurdle to overcome. So it was actually harder to get coaches overcoming the imposter syndrome than it was to get clients okay working with coaches, because the client needed help.
Yes.
Again, I didn't hire business coaches. I hired businessmen who were very knowledgeable, who have never coached or public spoke or anything. Did
you find yourself coaching them, your coaches?
Yes. So we have a very strong internal, we call it our collaborative approach. So we do like coaches roundtables on a regular basis, because what I've always wanted for the client base and the coaching staff is that everybody's getting the best advice possible. Mm-hmm. And like when you deal with companies of all different, like I've coached people at $500,000, I've coached people at 85 million. And I've coached everybody in the middle, right? And different problems in different sectors and different markets and different verticals. And I never wanted anybody to get subpar advice. We've really pushed this. Let's get together as a coaching staff and collaborate on the biggest, most complex, outlier type problems. We can give the best advice. What that did was it gave the clients the best advice possible, but then it also gave the coaches a feeling like, I'm not doing this alone. Mm-hmm. I have a group of people I can go to. Because like Dave Owens is one of our coaches. He owns a $30 million roofing company. He's been in business for 25 years. Wow. That dude's got some advice. You know what I mean? And so we can lean on each other. And that took a lot of the pressure off. But on a regular basis, I'm coaching coaches.
Okay.
But we did make a decision. I consider Win Rate Consulting the major leagues of coaching. And so we had to decide 2 years ago, are we a coaching developmental company or are we a coaching company?
Mm-hmm.
And we made the decision to be a coaching company. And like when you come into Win Rate, you're either able to perform or you're not ready. We're not here to get you ready.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't put like a developmental running back on the Patriots, right? You just don't do it.
Yes.
So like we decided either you can do it or you're not ready, go figure it out yourself. Because we don't have time to coach coaches and coach clients.
Yes.
And the reality is, like, up until recently, I was very in the business. Like, it took a while for me to navigate my way out because, you know, I have the highest paying clients. It doesn't cost extra to have me. So there's like a high profitability impact of me coaching people. And so I was like, I have the least amount of clients now I've had since I started the company.
Wow. What probably a great feeling. So when you're bringing in these business owners to be coaches, like, are you specifically targeting certain businesses, or is it just the roofing industry, or
no, we're construction agnostic. Like we basically home service. We've always said, if you sell a product or service to a homeowner, you're our client.
So home services. Okay. Yeah. So my other question is, so I guess you answered my second question was what would be your favorite client then? Like, it'd be home services.
Well, and like, but back to the question, like how I select coaches, it's hyper value focused. Like I'm huge on core values. I'm huge on mission and vision, as you've like evolved in your business as well. We've talked about that.
Yep.
And so I'll take the right guy who's got the right value alignment because that person I can trust one-on-one in the room with a client.
Mm-hmm.
There's very successful people that I wouldn't like on a regular basis. Like, hey, Mike, you need more coaches? Like, nah, man. Like, there's plenty of people that are not ready to live up to the standards I operate at. And so it's less industry focused and more value focused. But then from a favorite client perspective, it's the same answer. Business is a system. Like I teach a system. And it's not Mike Claudio's way of doing business. I help people determine what they want and then help them develop the steps to get there. I don't need to know how to do any of the services people do to teach them how to be a good leader, to teach them to build culture, to teach them to build leadership, to teach them how to hold people accountable, to teach them to make decisions by the numbers. I'm a very good businessman. I'm not a roofer. I'm not a general contractor. I'm not a builder. I can help anybody build a better business. I stuck to the construction home service space because that's where I had the most personal experience. Mm-hmm. And like, I think it's the biggest gap. Like if you look at client experience and skill set and like the individual contributor, that guy with the tool belt compared to the guy trying to build a business. And a lot of contractors, as you know, are like, well, I'm gonna start my business. I can do it better than that guy. And you don't understand the business side. I am the business side of construction. Mm-hmm. I can't construct a damn thing.
Right.
Like the handyman in my house is my wife. Like I'm not even embarrassed to say, like she is the handyman. Like I don't mess with that stuff. I don't have the patience for it, man.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to building people, when it comes to building processes, when it comes to building, you know, mindset and confidence and grit and resilience, like I'm that guy.
What do you think is the biggest issue when somebody comes to you and hires you? What has been the biggest obstacle or hurdle that they're trying to overcome? So
there's two. This is always, I get this question a lot. One, a lot of people come to us in desperation. Okay. They waited to the last minute. They delayed, asking for help. And by the time they do, in a lot of cases, it's too late. Like it's difficult to turn some ships around. Like not saying we can't, not saying we're not great, but like when someone comes into coaching or marketing or anything, if you're in desperation mode, that's like one of the, like a big one. When I say when people come to us and they're the right clients, it's somebody who got success on their own, but knows they're not good enough to get to where they want to go. Yeah. Like that's like, hey, I've done something, like I don't know what to do next.
So are you showing like you think their issue is that they don't know how to delegate, they don't have the right team, they don't have the leadership quality? Like what are you showing them and teaching them? And what is like their like most people, I guess, because I'm thinking of myself, it's like I know we're going to do XYZ numbers next year. And I'm working on for next year. I'm preparing myself. I'm trying to get the right tools, the resources, the mindset, and the skill set to be that CEO of that company.
Yeah.
Okay. So it like what would it be like? What is it? A mental block thing? Is it lack of is it insecurity? Like
there's definitely an insecurity, confidence issue. I'd say one of the biggest things I bring people is I help justify their decision making because business is hard and the variables change. And a lot of times, like your first idea as a business owner is right, but you don't know the next step to take. And so what I do a really good job with is like bringing people down and helping them say, okay, if that's what you want, this is exactly what you have to get there. And what happens is when that journey gets hard, if you don't know it's right, you assume it's wrong, and then you pivot. I can be like, no, man, it's hard, but this is the right direction, man. Like, you got to stay here. Here's what we can do to like limit the pain. Here's what we do to limit the risk. And I think the biggest problem I see with people is they don't know when to stick with the pain and when to pivot away from the pain.
Right on.
And I think I've coached over 300 companies at this point, probably pushing 400 at this point. And I've seen so many of like those hurdles and when to stick with the pain and when to push through the pain, but also like when to fire the top performer. Like, if you've never been coached through that and your fear of saying like, dude, this dude's producing 2.5 million a year, I can never get rid of him. While that dude's poisoning your entire culture, which you've experienced and we've talked about it.
Yes.
If you don't know, you'll be better off firing that person. You stick with that decision.
Yeah.
And just like the same thing, like, you have really great cultural fits that are bad performers. Those are actually harder to fire because like, they've been with me forever.
Yeah, we're kind of going through something.
He's
like
a great guy.
Yeah.
I just like, he's always showing up. But like, and you don't know how much like objectively that decision's stopping you.
Yeah.
And so what I give people is aggressive accountability. I'm telling you, I know this is right. Whether you agree with me or not, I'm very confident this is the right decision. How can I then help you? Because like, I have to inspire, motivate, sometimes manipulate the conversation and the data to help you get over your fears.
Yeah.
Get over the hesitation, get over like, and firing the top performance bad cultural fit and firing the culture that's bad performer equally are as bad for your success as a company, but they're very difficult.
Yeah, no, and I agree too. Every time we've ever had to make that hard decision and have that hard conversation, because it is hard for us,
100%.
Managers, owners, it's hard to do. We've propelled immensely when that person is left, whether they just left on their own. But what I think we have found is setting up KPIs. And then doing a 30-day performance review with somebody. And typically, if you're pushing them to perform, the writing is on the wall, and that decision becomes a lot easier for them to just leave. Like, I can't do this anymore. And I think that's been kind of our way to avoid that conflict, is like, look, besides showing them their next 30 days, like, look, you got to complete all these things. Within 2 weeks, they're already like looking for a job. So do you do that? Do you help them do that? Or do you just simply give them the courage? You'd give me the courage to be like, look, you just got to cut them loose.
No, I'll walk you through exactly what you do to have the conversation, because I'm great with words. Like, if there's anything I'm good at, so I'm good with words. And so I give people the format. But what I truly bring people is, if you hired that person wrong, onboarded them wrong, trained them wrong, and they got success, now they're a bad cultural fit, the mistake wasn't in not firing them. The mistake is how you I'm really good at seeing upstream problems to say, hey, if we don't want this to happen, you need this in your interview process. You need these core values. You need this onboarding program. You need this training document. So I can help them see, okay, this is the problem you're dealing with. You can't solve this problem at this point in the journey. We have to go fix it upstream so you never have to deal with it again. That's a really big thing I bring people. It's like, hey, I'm going to help you talk through this one, and I'll help you build the 6 things you need to make sure this never happens again.
Yes.
And so like, that's something that you can't see when you're in it.
No.
And being the outside objective perspective with like the amount of context I've developed over the years, I say, this is what's happening. And here's the 7 things you've done wrong to get us here. There's nothing you can do to make this easier. Just go suck it up and make the decision, have the conversation. And then let's implement these other 7 things that I've been telling you need to do that you've been delaying on. And this is why. Because sometimes until you experience that pain, you don't know why I was right 6 weeks ago. You don't know, because I got clients right now, been coaching for 4 years. They don't question me anymore. They're like, Mike, I don't know why that makes sense, but if you're saying to do it, you've been right every time. I'm doing it. And I take companies from $1 million to $2 million to 20 million in 2-3 years, successfully, profitably, with enjoying still being a good husband, still being a good father, still being in fitness. Like, I build championship lives. And that's not just business, not just revenue, but like, I teach people how to like make decisions and build processes that develop consistent outputs and consistent outputs that you want. There's a lot of people in this building right now. I want to be 100 millionaire. What do you want? 100 million. Why? Why the fuck would you want that?
Right.
You have no, like, you're like, dude, what are you doing right now? Like 2.5 million. I want to do 100 million, Kimba. No, like, you don't even, you're like, because they picture 100 million revenue with $2.5 million in expenses. That's not how it works.
No.
They're like, well, they got to figure it out. No, they don't.
No,
they don't. And I think that's like helping people realize what they want, how to get there is like the biggest thing I bring people.
I think the hardest thing for us was identifying that issue while it was a small issue. I heard what you were saying. if you could find, those, because all small issues eventually become a big issue.
Yeah. Red flags.
Yeah.
Yep.
And identifying that early enough in our journey, before it becomes, and I've kind of gotten myself in a position now where it's kind of like, okay, that's an issue, and it's going to become even, and
you see it differently now because of the habit.
Yeah. And only through the experience of feeling all of that pain. Right. And unfortunately, I was one of those guys too, that asked for help a little too late, probably. Right. And
not too late. You figure some shit out.
Yeah. Well, because unfortunately, and you were talking, it's like, but it's never a good idea until we think it's
Correct.
a good idea, and then trying to convince your team that's a good idea. That's a whole other set of issues
it is
within itself, and trying to get everybody rowing in the same direction. But like, when the pain's great enough, I think anybody will get off their dead ass and do something about it. But that's, without that pain, how can you create SOPs or KPIs? And that's the thing. It's like, okay, when the pain starts to become, it's either a person issue or it's a process issue.
Yep.
Okay. And if you have a decent process, it's typically a personnel issue, but you may have also identified a glitch in the process as well. And that's, that's the thing. It's like, what worked 6 months ago is not going to work 6 years ago. And it sounds to me like that's what you're helping us entrepreneurs and managers navigate that process. So what drove you to want to do this? Because I know you were in sales.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it because you found a gap in our industry, or like, how did this find you? I'm assuming this kind of found you.
They did. It absolutely did. So my original why, I've actually never told this story, I think, publicly, Ty. This is a good question. So I've told the story about how I built construction companies as a, we'll say, key employee, found success. People found me, asked me questions. Mm-hmm. I started coaching before new coaching was a thing, and then I monetized it because I was spending so much time doing it. Yeah. That's how coaching started. But where my passion for this industry came from, when I was in corporate America, I worked for Verizon Wireless, and I was in B2B sales. And I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and my vertical was construction and manufacturing. Mm-hmm. And I went into companies and in the construction space in 2010 trying to sell iPads. And like at that point, 2010, everybody's broke and iPads don't make phone calls. But like, the fuck you mean? I'm not spending $1,000. Does it make phone calls? No. Why would I need that? Now everybody has a fucking iPad. But in that journey, my client target was 5 to 500 employees. I stepped into a lot of family-run businesses that were broken. And I didn't know what I know now then, but I knew that, like, man, like, these are some people, like, I'm tired of watching these people work 50 years and have nothing to show for it. Mm-hmm. They're broken. They're still on the tool belt. And like, again, this was like literally 15 years ago. But at that point, I knew like I can help these people. And that's when I leaving corporate America, I went to work for my buddy who was a general contractor. He was that guy. Mm-hmm. He was that broken, nothing to show for, work hard every day, show up tomorrow, do the same thing. And I'm like, I understand business. I understand sales. I understand marketing. I understand process development. I'm great at leadership. I'm going to go chase something more. Because when I left Verizon Wireless, I was 23, 24, 25 years old, making 160 grand a year. I was fucking rich. Yeah. Like at that age. And I was living in Central Virginia and Charlotte. Like, that's a lot of money in those cities. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I can do more. I didn't know what that was at the time, but I was like, I'm going to go work for my buddy. I'm going to help him not be that guy. Mm-hmm. And I fixed him. And then I went to another company. I'm going to help him not be that guy. And then people just started asking questions. But my real like drive to this industry was when I was selling connected technology, working for Verizon Wireless, watching construction companies in 2010 broken. Mm-hmm. Like we see it, like dads and sons at a table going like, I can't buy a fucking iPad for me, and we can't even make payroll this week. Right. Like, and I didn't understand. Again, I had no idea what I was actually observing. Like I do now. Right. But I felt called to like see these guys. Like, I'm going to help these guys figure something out. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, I've helped a lot of people through that scenario of like being in the business and not knowing what to do next, and just working hard every day and being a highly compensated employee. Yeah. And that was the old, like, I've actually never talked about that before. Okay. Yeah. I always tell the story about how. And I don't think I've ever heard, I mean, I've heard bits and pieces of your story, but I don't think I've ever heard, like what gravitated you towards helping other entrepreneurs and other business owners and stuff. And 2010 was a rough time for a lot of people, because we started in 2008, late 2007, early 2008, and things were kind of still popping off at that point in time. But that's also the best time to build a business is in a down market. Yep. That's a different topic for a different time. But but I can only imagine what you got to experience. But it also takes some kind of like, it's not magic, but like intuition too, to be a person in your position
you almost have to have like a crystal ball. Not that you have a crystal ball, but that foresight.
I had an itch. I had a trigger. I observed something. I felt called to it. Because when I was making 160 grand a year, when I went to work for my buddy, he paid me $55,000 salary.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold $5 million in revenue for him for 55 grand a year.
Wow.
I just wanted to go do something, chase something different. And that was the start of everything win rate to be. Everything I learned about that industry, everything I did, every problem, every marketing tactic, networking tactic, building a team, cash flow, I learned by taking his company from 300,000 to 3 million in 2 years.
No doubt.
And like, I was there for 2.5 years. My first full year, I did 1.5 million in sales. My second full year, I did 3.5 million in sales. And I didn't know a fucking thing.
And what were you selling? Roofs?
No, it was remodeling. I was doing kitchen and bathrooms.
Okay.
I took over sales, marketing, and estimating for a residential remodeling company with zero experience.
Wow.
And nailed it.
No doubt.
And every process that I've taught people, I did to build success for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you looking back, like if I knew what I knew now, would I never went and work for him?
Yeah.
Not in a million years.
Right.
Not in a million years would I go work for that dude, knowing what I know now.
Mm-hmm. But
it taught me everything because I had to learn it. There was no marketing budget.
Right.
There was no process to follow. There was no documents. There was no price list. There was no sub base. I learned all of that because he was a great doer.
Mm-hmm.
I was a great manager.
Yes. And creating those processes. So when you talk about processes, were the processes up here or were you documenting them?
The processes was, let's try this. If it works, I'll write it down. If it doesn't, we'll fucking start over tomorrow.
Right.
I had nothing to lose.
Right.
The dude was doing 300 grand a year in revenue. There wasn't a lot to fuck up.
Right.
Like it wasn't a lot there.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of like, I would just test and try, test and try, test and try, get kicked in the face, kicked in the face, kicked in the face, lose the deal, lose the deal, lose the deal, lose the money. Like, that's how I did it. And I started documenting things because like, that's just how I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a spreadsheet guy. Mm-hmm. And so I started documenting stuff. I started documenting like, well, to get faster at estimating, if I just had a price list of what my subs charge, I don't have to call them every time. Oh, what a brilliant idea. You know how much fucking time I wasted not having a price sheet, right? Like, and I was doing every trade, man, with no knowledge. I had no previous construction knowledge, man, nothing. And I learned how to quote every trade.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to build a price sheet. I learned how to negotiate price. I did all of that with nothing. Because I knew for some reason deep down, like I was going to be able to build an impact bigger than I can imagine. And I just wasn't going to give up on that. Man.
Wow.
And like looking back, I was an idiot. I don't know how I did. Like, I don't know how I built a company, man. I really don't.
No doubt.
But that's how you did it.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think a lot of us go through the same
100%.
exact thing that you were just
talking
about.
If you don't like believe in it.
Yeah.
You haven't earned it. It's fragile.
Yeah.
If you just like walked into business in 2020, you didn't learn anything.
No.
You did, and you're like, oh man, business is hard. No, man, business was really easy.
Yeah.
People struggling to get leads in 2021. I said, like they would call and I'd be like, dude, go get a job. Like, I mean this respectfully, but if you're struggling building a business in 2021, please go get a job.
Right.
Like you are not built for it, man.
Yeah. And that particular year was a huge, I think, mirage.
100%.
You know, and that's 100%. What I was calling it. Like we were calling like there's a recession coming. This can't sustain itself. And no, but again, having that intuition, you know, and that foresight of like, and the experience, I think, you know, going through what you went through and everything that I've gone through over the years, and your path was a little bit different. You're on the coaching aspect of things, and I'm kind of on the entrepreneurial, you know, construction owner. But it sounds like a lot of our experiences were the same because a lot of it was just through trial and error, not really necessarily being afraid to do it and step outside of our comfort zone and like build things. Like you sound like you're a builder. I consider myself a builder. I build companies, I build teams, I build people up. And I think there needs to be a more, and this is what's cool about you, Mike, is, and I talk about this quite often. It's like, we need people like you in our industry to make it a better place than it was when I found it.
Yeah.
Right. Without you and the Tim Browns and the Ericos and all this new software and technology that's coming into our space right now, you know, things are evolving rapidly, right? And someone that's my age to try to keep up with the times and stuff like that.
Just this event, there's 200 technology companies here.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like it's crazy how, and like, they're all right and they're all wrong.
Right.
In some way, shape or form.
Right. Exactly. And they're not always a good fit too. And I think a lot of times us business owners get distracted on those shiny objects and stuff. So how do you sift through the shit when someone hires you? How do you sift through the shit and like, do you give them like, do you create their SOPs, their KPIs? Like, is there a dashboard that they like, or do you just talk to them on the phone on a weekly basis? Like what tangible things would I get from you?
Yeah. So I'm not going to hand you anything, because my goal is to get you to a point where you don't need me. I think a lot of coaches and consultants, like, they kind of drag you out by like not giving you the tools on how to do it yourself. So like, I'm going to help you figure out the problem, and then we're going to figure out a solution together, and we're going to collaborate on the solution. So if you get stuck, I'm going to give you some answers. Am I going to build it for you? Absolutely not, because then you're dependent on me, and like, you don't actually learn how to do anything on yourself. And I'm not next to you every day, right? I'm not in your meetings on Tuesdays. Right. So you have to like learn, like how we learned by failing. Sometimes I let my clients fail, like with a safety net, to be like, hey man, if you think that's best, go ahead and try it. Let's see what happens. Right. You're like, that didn't work. I know, but you need, like I said, until you come to the conclusion yourself, I have to let you get there. Exactly. So coaching has been more, I'm going to tell you what to go do. Recently, we started doing some consulting, which is like done for you leadership, where I'm going to come in, I'm going to run your sales meeting. I'm going to run your initiative. I'm going to run your quarterly offsite. And that's been really powerful, because when I coach you, you then have to go coach your team, and you're not me. If I just come in and coach your leadership team, the speed of evolution of that company is immeasurable. And so like, it's a higher price point. It's more touches, right? But the ROI is different, because you don't have to trust that you're going to do what I told you to do after I'm gone. And because I'm not in your meetings on Tuesdays, but now I can be, for the right price. And like, I'm enjoying that more. Do you think you're going more towards that? Mike Claudio is. Win rate staying in coaching. Okay. So Mike Claudio is kind of done saying the same shit over and over again. Like taking that new client from baseline up. I'm pretty over it, to be honest with you. But like stepping in and helping somebody lead a leadership team and watch like changing employees' lives. You know, I have two companies right now. I'm stepped in as like in a fractional leadership role. Both are in the 8 figures, multiple 8 figures. Both have 40 plus employees. Both have a full leadership team. And I'm stepping in as like, think fractional integrator. And I'm leading the leaders in each department. And the speed and the results of that is a lot more fun. Yeah, I bet it is. Like, what's your end goal here? So recently, win rate's still a thing, and win rate will always be a thing. I started zeroed out management and zeroed out marketing. And so this tripod of companies is going to be a business building platform. I can market for you. I can lead your team if you need me to, and I can coach you if that's what you need right now. So like taking a business saying, what do you actually need right now to grow? Is it advice? Is it done for you? Is it marketing? And I'm building this tripod, and the goal will be to turn it into a private equity company at some point and be this overarching, we can take you from zero to exit. Wow. And we're doing it. We have 2 companies right now with LOIs out, and like, we're doing it. Okay. And I don't talk about it a lot, because like, I'm not like do the work and then talk about it, not talk about what I'm about to do. Right. But like, I started the marketing company 8 weeks ago, and we got 15 clients already, and we're rocking and rolling. And what are you doing for some website, SEO, Google Ads? Okay. On the consulting side is that fractional stuff. So we have like fractional CFO services, fractional integrator services. Fractional CEO is tough, but like, I can help be your visionary. If you're an integrator, I can help create the vision for you and then like guide you through it. Okay. And so it's not just me. Like, I have a team in each of these companies now that we're able to like come in and do it for you, coach you how to do it, and market to help you build the revenue necessary to exit. Yeah. And so I'm building a tripod of companies right now that it's going to work together to like, I'm calling it a business building platform. And the goal will be to be like, do you need coaching? Do you need consulting or marketing, or a blend of all of it? And let's help you elevate and exit, and then ideally like get a piece of that as it happens. What's the vision beyond this? Man, I'm too young to like, this is fun for me. Okay. Like, business is my hobby, man. Like, I don't get burnt out on business. Yeah. And so I need something just like you, man. I'm bored out of my mind. Yeah. So what's on the other side of this will be able to do this at scale, because there's so many business owners that deserve that exit. They deserve that money. They deserve the accolades. They deserve to help their team. Like, what I think a lot of young business owners miss is exits as impactful and powerful for your team as it is for you. And when you realize that, and you're like, my goal is to exit to make millionaires on my team, everything changes. Yeah. And like, that's the impact I want to make is like, not just helping you do this thing for a short period of time, is like, I want to come in for 3 to 5 years, help you like CMO, CFO, COO, help you get your business where you want it to a certain, like, whatever that number is for you. And more often than not, people are like, this is actually, I'm enjoying my business again. Yeah. Like, when you actually get some people that know what they're doing, people are starting to enjoy their business again. Yes. And they're showing up smiling and ready to be there and excited about it. And like, you cannot even come close to understand like the impact of excited to be at your company again. Yeah. And those people that delay decisions and don't fire the people and don't make the investments, don't stretch themselves, end up hating the thing they built. Like recently, I've seen a lot of business owners been like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually having fun again. Like this is exciting again. And like, that's life-changing. And so outside of this, man, like I'm enjoying being in companies right now. Like really.
So you're kind of in the enjoyment mode, but have you found yourself in a position where it's like, I just don't think I'm having fun anymore?
That was coaching.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really coaching anymore. Like either I'm coming in, I'm getting a piece and I'm helping you build a company to exit, or I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So that's the Mike Claudio side.
Okay.
But I'm loving watching business owners step into coaching roles at win rate.
Yeah.
Right. And helping that next round of people. I'm loving watching our marketing company. Like we got 10 employees and they're excited and things are fun. And we're building processes and like getting results and like doing it right. And and like there's like marketing is one of those gray worlds, like coaching. Like I basically picked like the worst industries that like everybody hates, but I'm gonna do it differently because Mike Claudio does shit differently.
Right on.
So I'm burnt out on coaching. I don't want to take that $1.5 million guy anymore. Like, I just can't tell you why you need a CRM. Like I cannot have that conversation again, Ty.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
I bet.
But like this, like coaching leaders on teams has been very, very personally rewarding.
No doubt.
Like starting the marketing company and seeing that successful has been super rewarding. And like clients getting real results and getting communicated to proactively and transparently. And like our tagline is driven by accountability. And like, I'm going to hold you accountable so that you can hold me accountable. That's what I do. That's what I built my whole brand around. And so I'm putting that into marketing. I'm putting into fractional CFO services. You know, I'm really finding a way to build this thing that if you want to grow and you're ready to suffer through that, I'm ready to lock arms with you and get you there.
Nice.
But you better be fucking ready because I'm gonna work your ass into the ground and we're going to get there. And we're going to make it happen. And your team's going to be better and your life's going to be better and your marriage is going to be better. And you're going to be healthier. Like one of the companies I joined at the beginning of September, they have 5 leaders. All 5 of them chose to do 75 hard with me. 3 of them have lost over 30 pounds in 60 days.
Wow.
You better be ready to do the fucking work. No doubt. And I'm going to change your life.
Let's talk about how important it is to take care of your physical health.
I mean, like, how do you measure that? Like, I mean, I don't have a 6-pack, but I look good. I got a good dad bod going on. But like, you know, it's more about like physical fitness is a representation of your mental fitness, and mental fitness is immeasurable. And if you can be consistent, like this is a representation of how you make decisions. Yeah. Like, oh man, I wish I could get in shape. Just stop putting the shit in your mouth. Like you have full control over that. Yeah. Like I work out at 11 o'clock at night sometimes because that's what needs to happen. Like, yes. And so like, I think physical fitness is necessary to evolve your mental fitness and like your discipline, your endurance, like how long can you suffer is who makes her, like people like, oh man, it's getting so hard. Let me sit down. Dude, you've been at this for like 11 months. Yeah. Get off your ass and get to work. And so I think the physical fitness is important because it is a result of mental discipline, and mental discipline is paramount when it comes to running a business because it's hard. It is. There's no way to avoid it. It is going to be hard. You're going to have cash flow issues. You're going to have issues with paying yourself. You're going to have people take advantage of you. You're going to get sued. People steal from you. People take advantage of you. Bad reviews. Yep. Like, oh man, someone left a bad review today. Cool, man. Welcome to the game. Like, I got sued last week. What do? You call your attorney and you let them do their job. Like this is like, if you can't handle that, you just can't do it. Yeah. And like, you might be able to build a really good $500,000 company, take home 120 grand a year. And if that's good for you, man, I'm happy for you. Yep. But that's not like what I'm about. That's not what you're about. No. And so, but I think the physical fitness is important because it represents the example that you operate by in your mental fitness. Yeah.
No, and I like that. The discipline, without discipline, you can't have consistency. And I think a lot of it too, for me. So most recently, so we do the Fearless 44 and, 44 days just isn't enough. It really isn't. That's just scratching the surface. Yeah. And I think where a lot of people get hemmed up is that delayed gratification. I think we've become like this instant gratification world, and putting in the time, putting in the pain, and grinding it out. Like, and me, I'm not in the greatest shape in the world, but I'm working towards it. Like, I want to be like in the greatest shape of my life by the time I'm 50. I actually want to be 50 years old. And I want to say to myself, like, I have never been in such great shape, but I know that's not going to happen in 12 months. I know that's not going to happen in 24 months. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I still have 36 months to hit that goal. But that, I think I learned it because I've done about, I don't even know, 6 Fearless 44s. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? I worked out every single day for 44 days. And it was kind of like,
lifestyle.
Yeah, it totally is. So that delayed gratification and putting in the work. And I like how you mentioned earlier, identifying which pains to continue to push through. Because I think for a lot of us entrepreneurs, like we don't like, okay, this hurts. Like, do I continue to keep doing this or do I pivot because this seems like the easier, softer way? And to have somebody like you in our lives, like, no, you need to keep pushing through this because I've seen hundreds of other entrepreneurs go through this. It's painful, but if you can make it at this, you're going to be at this totally different level of entrepreneurship and leadership. And that's the thing where it's like, 10 years ago, we didn't have social media, YouTube, like all the free YouTube content and the information that's on the internet right now. There's so much out there, but nobody wants to take advantage of the free stuff, let alone pay for somebody to come in and like reboot their company, reboot their leadership team, where it's like
so hard.
It's
so hard. But like to that point of the social, here's what the problem with entrepreneurs today, in my opinion. So like we talked about the biggest problems they deal with. I think one of the biggest issues they have to handle in business is that they think entrepreneurship is supposed to be exciting and fun. Winning is boring and monotonous as crap. Like it's showing up every day and doing the same shit and no one knows about it. And you got to sit down and do the reports and look at the things and have the conversation for the 10th fucking time with that person that doesn't want to do their job. And you got to show up. You got to be there for your parent. You got to be there as a parent. You got to be there as a husband or a wife. And like business is not exciting.
No, it sucks.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It always sucks because like it's supposed to. That's why 99% of people can't do this. That's why millionaires are in the 1%. Like I want to make 100 million, but like I want to work like I no, like it is so incredibly monotonous. It's so incredibly boring that they think they're doing something wrong because the YouTubes and the Instagrams and the Facebooks make it seem like, well, if I'm not having fun and doing exciting stuff and celebrating all the time, I must be doing something wrong. Back to that, like, how do you maintain course?
Yes.
I think they think it's supposed to be exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're coming in and high-fiving every day. No, more often than not, you're walking in with your head in your hands, about to cry, saying, how am I going to overcome this one?
Yeah.
And then the ones that succeed, like you, making 20 years and multiple 8 figures, I don't know how I'm going to solve this. I'm going to show up and I'm going to try real hard. Yeah. And I'm not going to give up till I get there.
Right.
And that's the difference. And that is monotonous, man. That is face into the storm forever.
I think it helps when you find your why and identify the why. And success is measured by the impact that you have on people, right? And that's, for me, of course, I got into it. It wasn't purpose, right? Today, for me, it's purpose. Before, it was survival, right? When I got into the entrepreneurship, it was all about survival. And I got mouths to feed, bills to pay, and all that stuff. And then, then there's status, right? I think David talks about there's 4 levels. I think it's survival, then it's status, show your haters wrong. And then there's another level in between, purpose. But if you can get to that purpose, that does make it a little easier. Like you still have to have that why. Of course, our family is our why, but when you start carrying that weight of the world on the shoulder, and that's why it becomes shitty. It sucks because, I'm looking out here and I see our team. It's like, I know he's relying on me. I know she's relying on me. I know all of these people are relying on me, but that's my purpose today, is like to provide those opportunities for those people to buy homes, to have 2 cars, to make babies, to have a family. Like there's different levels of this thing where it's like, I need to find like what makes me happy, what makes me feel fulfilled, or else why am I even doing this? Because it does kind of suck. And there is only 1% of us that will actually go through this pain. But without us, we wouldn't have bridges built. We wouldn't have, highways and, the Empire State Building wouldn't have been built if we wouldn't have Amazon. We wouldn't have Coca-Cola. All of these things you have to learn and go through and endure the pain. We wouldn't have the building wouldn't be built. Hunter Blue building, RoofCon. Like I see him pacing back and forth. He does not look like he's having fun.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. No, these events are grueling.
Right. Grueling. But and people are like, why is he such an asshole? Well,
he's not.
No, and not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. And I meant for me, because I'm sure people wonder why I'm such an asshole half the time.
We all are. Do you know why? Because we respect ourselves.
Right.
And we respect our time. We respect our effort. Hunter's like, man, Hunter must be killing it. Hunter has lost millions of dollars on these events.
Oh, yeah.
And people are like, oh, dude, like he should do better. Fuck you, asshole. Like you ever throw an event for 10 people, 20 people,
right?
5,000 people? And they're like having an opinion. I wish he totally should have laid this room out differently. I would have totally done this different. Cool, man. I'll come to your event whenever you throw it.
Yeah.
But like people like, well, you're an asshole if you don't respect my opinion. just because you can shoot me a DM doesn't mean I need to receive your opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not walking in your front door being like, fat ass, get off the couch.
Right.
Ah, it pisses me off. Sorry.
No doubt. No doubt. Okay. We could keep talking for
all day.
Yes. So, okay. You're still taking clients on.
Yeah. Win rate's still coaching people. Mike Claudio is not.
Okay.
Mike Claudio is leading business.
What's the easiest way somebody could get a hold of you? I'm sure there's all kinds
there's
of
people here.
Yeah.
Look, if you go to winrateconsulting.com,
Mm-hmm.
if you're interested in marketing services, zerodoubtmarketing.com, and like, this sounds super douchey, but like, if you just Google Mike Claudio, you're going to find my stuff.
No
like,
doubt.
I've released thousands of pieces of content. I got dozens of companies. Like, just Google Mike Claudio, you'll find the stuff. But like, zerodoubtmarketing.com.
And he's got a book.
Got a book,
Win
hashtag Too Strong.
Yep.
How to win fast and win often in a world full of obstacles. Released that, published that in 2021. Podcast, the Big Stud Podcast. Mike Claudio on YouTube, got like 20,000 subscribers and release some videos on a weekly basis.
Yeah,
so
I follow you. I've read your book. I got your book. When are you coming out with your next book?
Great question, Ty. Who teed him up for that? I'm fighting somebody on that one. I was actually talking to somebody about it this morning. Like, my first book was like my brain dump of like stories I wanted to tell.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't write it for a person.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out like who's the person I want to impact next. Like, what's the avatar?
Yep.
Because I contributed, I think so did you, to Savati's book.
Yes.
Yep. And so he was targeting like new business owners,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, my last book was written in just a general, like, I want to get my story out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was like Mike Claudio's first published thing. My next book, I want to be more intentional for a specific person, right? And I don't have the answer for that right now. I have 3 books that I've started.
Okay.
But like, the first one felt passionate
Mm-hmm.
and it poured out of me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force a book.
Yeah.
Because it's out there forever.
Yep.
I'm not going to force it. I know for a fact that when it hits, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to pour. And I think as soon as I figure out who that person is I'm trying to write it for, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But like, right now, like, I'm really, really, really deep into building teams.
No doubt.
Like, I am a builder of people and a builder of teams.
Yep.
And I am loving that to the extreme right now.
Right on.
And it's a lot of fun.
Okay. One more question.
Let's do
I'll
it.
let you go.
Okay.
So with your book that you've already written,
Mm-hmm.
do you look back? Like, will there be a follow-up to that book because your perspective has changed, or do you still fully believe in everything that you put in that book?
I think there's some things that have changed due to how technology has evolved, and some
Mm-hmm.
things that may not work the same in like certain strategies. But like, that book was about mindset and preparation and planning, and like, that would stay the same. Like, that's like a forever book that like will always be impactful to like how to win.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few things that probably wouldn't land in today's environment, just how things have changed. But no, there would not be a version 2 of that book. Like, that was a good, well written. So I wrote it when COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, quick story.
Mm-hmm.
So when COVID hit, I lost all my clients because
Mm-hmm.
I was a coaching company, and like, businesses were like, what's essential?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
well, yeah, whatever. So I lost like a bunch of clients overnight. And April 2020, I wrote the book.
Okay.
So I was like, I gotta dive into something, or I'm gonna dive back into drinking, and drunk Mike ain't fun for nobody.
Yep.
And so wrote the book, and then I put it on a shelf. And it wasn't until March 2021 that I read it. And I read it, and I'm like, this is a good book.
It just gave me goosebumps.
This is a
when you
good
said
book.
that. Yeah.
And like, you've read it. So like, the first story about my attempted suicide in 2019
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in the original book. I think God delayed it because I drove home from the gym one March morning, 2021, and it poured out of me. And I sent it to my editor. I was like, that's the first chapter of the book. Let's get this published. It gives me chills. But like, I've gotten thousands of DMs. Mike, thank you for sharing that. Because if you dealt with that, that means I can like overcome this and the hope it's created.
Mm-hmm.
And so no, I read it in March 2021. So this is a good book. I forgot about it. I just typed it, put it on the shelf.
Yep.
Read it a year later, released it, spring 2021, and we've sold thousands of copies. And I say sold, like I don't make money from it.
Right.
You don't make money on books,
right?
But I've impacted thousands of people with it.
No doubt.
And but I that one's good. That's like the first one. You don't fuck with the first one.
That's right.
That's kind of the baseline. That's like, this is where everything came from. And so
I just didn't know if you had any regrets or guilt.
Nope. That
by
book,
putting that out there.
not at all.
Okay.
Not one bit. Like, was it a perfect book? Absolutely not. But I was proud of it.
No doubt.
And I'm still proud
and you
of
should
it.
be.
Yeah.
You should be,
I
man.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much for what you do for our industry, Mike.
Thank you.
And
Zach.
thank you for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
If you haven't liked, loved, shared, please catch this one on the rebound on the replay, because this
don't be a taker. This dude puts a lot of effort in, dude. Like, just like the thing, comment on it, help him out.
Thank you. Till then, I think our next one's at 1:00. We got CR3 coming on. Carney from CR3. I got the franchise model roofing thing. We're gonna have them come on here 1 o'clock. So,
Awesome.
Yeah. All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Till then, see ya.